This is the King Chasing Podcast. Here's your host, Richard Martin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the newest episode of the King Chasing Podcast and our summer series on mission trips taken by NCCAA student athletes. I, for one, have enjoyed interviewing our student athletes, and I hope you've enjoyed listening to these episodes this summer. We have another great one on tap for you today. But before we begin, of course, if you've missed any past episodes of the King Chasing Podcast, head over to the nccaa.org/podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the NCCAA YouTube channel. And on the NCCAA YouTube channel, there's also a playlist full of just the summer mission trip series if you've missed any of those past episodes. Today's episode features two athletes from the Asbury University women's basketball team as we sit down with Trinity Britton and Isabella Mayes discussing their mission trip to Costa Rica. During their time in Costa Rica, Trinity, Isabella, and their Asbury University women's basketball teammates worked with Roblealto, a Christian nonprofit organization whose mission is to care for children and adolescents in Costa Rica who are in social vulnerability and require specialized care for their proper development. Thank you to Isabella and Trinity for joining me today, and now sit back and relax and tune in to the King Chasing Podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the King Chasing Podcast. We continue our summer series on mission trips as we roll along with two members of the Asbury University women's basketball team, Trinity Britton and Isabella Mayes. And guys, thank you so much for joining me today on the King Chasing Podcast.
Of course.
Thank you so much for having us.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll just kind of dive right into it. And Isabella, we'll start with you because I feel like you have experience going on mission trips before, but both of you have been on mission trips to Puerto Rico, a different place than y'all went on this last mission trip. But how did this trip to Costa Rica kind of differ from your prior experiences to Puerto Rico?
I think for this trip specifically, the biggest difference that I noticed was that we were actually staying on site with the kids and their families. We don't really do that in Puerto Rico. We'll go to the work sites and then we'll go back. But this was just a really neat experience, being able to be immersed truly in their community and staying with them and seeing how they live. And so that was just really cool for me. And I know for the rest of the girls as well.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing, well, besides what Isabella said, that was so awesome to get to stay with the kids. But besides that, I think it was really important for us to be pushed out of our comfort zone on this trip. When we go to Puerto Rico, Isabella has been going for lots of her life. Our coach Mays and his wife have been going for many years now. So they have everything kind of planned out to a T. But on this trip, we were really pushed out of our comfort zone, just being in a new place, being somewhere unfamiliar with new people. And I think it was so good for our team to get to work together, to figure things out, to get to just be a little uncomfortable. I think that we'll grow so much through that. And that was definitely very different, but I think so beautiful that we were able to work together to figure out new things that we weren't as familiar with.
Awesome. So, Isabella, like mentioned before, your dad and your mom basically taking you on trips to Puerto Rico. You've basically grown up there. You kind of helped lead this mission trip a little bit with some of your experience. How the experience on going on these trips to Puerto Rico kind of help you with this new experience of going to a different country and maybe a little bit different way of serving?
This was definitely different for me because I'm used to being in Puerto Rico. So whenever I go, I'm super comfortable. I know it. I mean, it's my second home, so I know my way around. I know exactly where everything is, what we're doing, how we do it. So this was definitely a different trip for me, but I think that having that experience, even since I was 7 years old, I have led college students, adults, I have just taken more of that leadership position. And so taking that experience and what I've learned throughout my entire life and being able to apply that in this trip was really helpful. I was able to, we were doing some of the same projects that we do in Puerto Rico. We do a lot of painting and remodeling and stuff like that for families. And so that was one of our projects while we were in Costa Rica. And so I was able to connect the dots between the two. And I was kind of placed back in my comfort zone. And I just kind of slid right into that role. And so I think having that experience in Puerto Rico was super, super helpful for me whenever we went to Costa Rica.
Awesome. And so, Trinity, your experience as well in missions, you helped serve with the Link 8 project as well last year. Can you kind of tell us what that project is and how they kind of work with Latin American countries as well in providing mission trip aid and stuff like that?
Yeah. So Link 8 is a Christian nonprofit organization that was started up by our basketball coach and Isabella's dad, Chad Mays, and his wife, Chandy. And they've been taking teams there for years now, working for volunteer efforts like community restoration, youth outreach, relief work, things like that. And so I got to intern for them last summer, and it was such a wonderful experience for me. I learned so much. Had the opportunity to work in schools, churches, community places, and neighborhoods. We led activities for children, we served families, and we just tried to share the love in any way that we could, the love of Jesus. But I think something that really stuck out to me as I was interning with Link 8 was how intentional they are at building relationships with people. They're not just there to check projects off of a list. They're not there to accomplish as many things as they possibly can. They are so focused, although they get a lot of work done, they're so focused on the people, and they're so focused on hearing people's stories and telling them about Jesus and making people feel seen and loved.
That's awesome. And so, both go on this trip to Costa Rica with your teammates, and Trinity will start with you, and then Isabella, you can follow up, but you can kind of mention a little bit what some of the ways you served, but what are just some of the different ways that your team was able to serve the people of Costa Rica?
Yeah, so we worked with an organization called Roblealto, and they had a project set out for us when we got there. And this is actually a really funny story. They had planned for our team to spend the entire week painting the walls of this house called Casa de Esperanza, the House of Hope, which Isabella can maybe tell you a little bit more about what the House of Hope is and why it's so important, because it's very special. But anyway, while we were there, we were supposed to paint all the walls of this place, and we actually got that done as a team in probably a day and a half. So we were working really hard. Girls were skipping snack breaks. We came back from lunch early. We were just so excited to get to serve and to be able to turn this house into something special. So after that, they gave us a bunch more jobs. So we focused on just completely restoring this house. We took the doors off the hinges, we stained them. Me and Isabella spent an entire afternoon sanding, painting, and staining every piece of wooden furniture. We built beds, we put up curtains, we did the trim, we did the ceiling, we cleaned the whole house. And after that, they gave us even more projects because we finished the entire inside of the house. So then we started on the outside, which was supposed to be the project for the next team that was coming in. But we went ahead and did that. We did landscaping, we fixed fences, we cleaned. Basically, I think what was so beautiful is that wherever we were needed, people were excited and willing to serve. Someone would come up and ask for a volunteer, and you would just have girls jumping at the chance to serve wherever they were needed by the staff. So it was we got a lot of work done.
Yeah, so the house, it, like you said, it was a house of hope, and they were building it so that the families of the children could come in and actually be with the kids on site, because some of them, they would go home over the weekends if it was a safe space for them, but they wanted to make a space so that the families could actually come to the children and spend time there with them and be in their environment and see everything that they're living through and going through. And so, yeah, it was just a beautiful idea. And we got to see that come to life and make it a place so that they could come. And so I think another way that our team served was, we really, like Trinity mentioned, one of our main goals is to build connections with people. And I just think that that is such a core part of serving people, is building those relationships and meeting people where they are and seeing how that you can show the love of Christ. And obviously these children are covered in the Lord. I mean, these parents they are so wonderful at what they do. And so I think that being able to be there and build those relationships, especially with the parents too, because they have a hard but beautiful job. And so we were able to see that and connect with them and connect with the children. And we were just able to build connections that made it so hard to leave. And so I think that was another way that we were able to serve them and serve their community. And so, yeah, we really enjoyed it.
That's great. And so, like I said, been on mission trips before, first time in Costa Rica, but we'll start with you, Isabella. What was kind of some of the most interesting or kind of eye-opening things that you saw during your time serving down in Costa Rica?
I mentioned the parents, so they had like a mommy and poppy is what they called them, which is mom and dad in English. And that was the most like interesting and eye-opening thing that I saw. It really hit me hard in my the entire trip because I was able to watch them. The parents, they loved on the children like they were their own. They disciplined them like they were their own, and the children absolutely adored them. And so it was just a wonderful and so cool, like their dynamic like with each other. I remember there was one day that we were playing soccer with the kids out on their field because we played with them every day. They were very passionate about soccer, and they beat us on multiple occasions, but it was so fun. But there was one little boy in particular, and he had gotten knocked over by one of the bigger boys, and so he was pretty upset. And the one of the poppies came over, and the little boy popped right back up and ran over to him crying because it was like a son running to their dad. And
Hmm.
I just thought that was so beautiful to watch. And they all just know each kid's specific need and like how to take care of them and how to regulate them. And so it was just so cool to watch. And so that was the most interesting thing that I was able to watch throughout this week.
I think for me, the most eye-opening thing was just the joy that these kids had, and we see that each time we go on a mission trip, but at Roblealto specifically, they have a lot, but Roblealto does a wonderful job at providing for them, and they're so blessed there, but we have so much here in America that we take for granted that those kids don't have, just like getting to live with their families and things. So it was just so beautiful to see their excitement when we got there and how welcoming they were for us. They were just so excited for us to be there. And they were so grateful for every single little thing and so joyful all the time. And I think that was something that all of us will take back from this mission trip. We know that we're so blessed over here, but I think we can often take it for granted. So I think that was the most interesting thing for me. And it just, I'm very thankful to have been reminded of how lucky we are and just that we should have joy in the Lord and hope in the Lord instead of anything that we have.
That's great. And so Trinity, you kind of mentioned it in your answer there, but starting with you, just what is one thing you think, God kind of taught you or kind of showed you, through the way he moved and you kind of like you talked about finding that joy in him on this trip?
That was definitely a big thing, was the joy. But another thing that I will mention is I didn't grow up speaking Spanish like Isabella did. So the language barrier was very difficult for me. I think that I'm okay communicating with the kids, but I'm very much an evangelist and I wanted to go and tell everyone about Jesus. But I think the Lord really showed me this week and taught me that the greatest sermon that I can preach is just how well I love others.
Hmm.
And that's true all the time, whether I'm overseas on a mission trip or right here in the United States. Sometimes it's just about showing people the love of Jesus. And so I think that all the things that I thought were very small, like getting to play soccer with the kids or just sitting down and hugging one of them when they just wanted to spend time with you, or like getting to serve the staff, all of those things show Jesus just as well as telling people about him do. And so that was something that I think I will bring back to the United States with me as well. It's just you should be able to be spreading the love of the Lord and shining his light through your actions as well as your speech.
Yeah, for me, the biggest lesson that I definitely have taken back was the Lord really taught me to slow down. I mean, we are moving at a rapid fire pace here all the time, and we were really intentional. Me and Trinity had multiple conversations about how refreshing it was to be able to disconnect from our phones and be able to spend time with one another and build those connections with each other as a team, and with those children and with the parents. And time really did slow down whenever we took a step back and we left our phones in the house all day long. And the only time that we got on it was if it was at nighttime and we wanted to take pictures and share with each other what happened throughout the day. And it was really a lesson that I know that I especially needed. And I know that the rest of us needed it too. And so we were really able to slow down and enjoy our time there and be immersed in the Lord's creation, and seeing him in those children's faces. I saw a whole different side of him, especially through those children. And I don't think I ever would have been able to do that unless we had truly disconnected and been able to reconnect with each other. And so that was the biggest lesson that he taught me through this trip.
And so Isabella kind of mentioned it, but I just want to ask again, you go on this trip with your entire team and then you come back to campus, how did you kind of grow as a team on this trip? We'll start with you, Isabella, and then how can you use kind of some of that stuff to serve back home, like not just on your campus, but back at your house, back locally? How can you use some of that stuff that you kind of saw, the way you saw God move in Costa Rica?
I think as a team, we were able to come back together because we spend so much time with each other throughout the school year, really basketball focused. And so we were able to get away from all of that and be able to go on this trip together and see a different side of each other apart from basketball. And so I just think that it was really nice to be able to connect with each other on that level, and truly like get to know each other's likes and dislikes, our interests outside of basketball. And so I think that it was a really good trip for us to be able to do all of that. And as far as like the community goes, I think that it really showed me. Trinity, she touched on it a little bit, but like these kids came from really some tough backgrounds, but they were still so joyful. And I just think that really reminded me, like, here even in our own communities, there are people who you don't know their backgrounds and you don't know what they need. And so I think that coming back home, especially serving in your own community, is so important, because I think oftentimes we think that we need to travel halfway across the world to be able to serve and show the love of Christ, but that's not true. We have a saying at my church, it's love where you live. And I just think that that's really important. Not that it's not important to go serve other people somewhere else in another country. Obviously it is, but I think that there's something truly special about serving in your own community and your own people, especially. So I think that was a big way that we can serve here, is being intentional about going out and finding those people in your own community that also need help. It may be a different way, or it may be the same, you don't know, but I just think that we need to be more intentional about doing that. And so that was something that I was shown through that trip too.
Yeah. For me, the mission trip, I think, will just completely change our basketball team when we go back to campus. We've already seen the fruits of it a lot through the trip and through this summer, but I'm so excited to get to go back and see how people's lives have been changed. I think something that will be so evident as we go onto the court together is just that we're not just a team. And we haven't been, like, we always emphasize being a family, but this trip has just made us realize how important it is to invest in each other and to want to grow closer, to want to know each other off the court. And that will just help us as we go throughout our season and in our games and everything. I think you'll be able to tell that we're not just people who meet up for basketball practice and then go play games, that we really care about each other so deeply. And it also is just so cool to see the girls who had never been on a mission trip before get to experience that for the first time, because it's truly transformative. It changed my life 2 years ago. Isabella, it's changed hers completely. And I just think it's such a beautiful thing that everyone should get to experience, because you really do come back to the United States just with a new perspective on the Lord and his creation. For me, I think that the biggest thing for me is kind of what Isabella said about just serving where you are. I feel after my previous mission trips, I really felt the Lord calling me to do missions part-time in my career, and I want to be a dentist. And so dental missions is like the number one thing that I really want to do with my life and where I feel the Lord leading me. But I was really convicted while I was there because I feel like I've been so excited to go overseas and so excited to go serve other places that I've been forgetting, just like Isabella said, forgetting that we are called to serve exactly where the Lord has us right now. And so I think that I'll serve locally differently now because I'll be focused on serving where my feet are planted, because the Lord has us exactly where we are for a reason, and we shouldn't just take that time for granted and overlook it.
That's great. And so, close out again, you mentioned several places, Link 8 Project, other places. Other than prayer, of course, as that's very important. If there's someone who is in the United States and maybe they can't make the trip to Costa Rica, or maybe they can't do anything like that or go on a mission trip, what are some organizations that you want to acknowledge, or how they help those organizations at home without having to go out to Costa Rica, but want to have a way to help them out?
I will say to be able to support Roblealto and their mission, they do have a website. It's roblealto.org, and you can go on there, and they have listed all of their requests. And if you don't feel led to travel, they do have ways that you can donate and that you can be praying for them and their specific needs. And so that is one way that you can get connected with them. But if you are wanting to take a trip, my family, we have Link 8 Project. And so if you are wanting to go on a trip, you can also be connected that way. And you can just go down there and you can support them in any way that they need.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today, and glad to hear about your trip and glad to hear how, it has kind of changed, kind of shaped Asbury women's basketball team, and how you are going to take those lessons back into the summer, into the school year. And so thanks once again for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. It was great to talk to you.
Once again, thanks to Trinity and Isabella for joining me today on the King Chasing podcast. It was awesome to hear about how they and their Asbury women's basketball teammates served in Costa Rica at Roblealto. For more information on how you can support Roblealto, just head over to roblealto.org or click on the link in the description. And for more information on Link 8 Project, you can head over to Link 8, that's spelled LYNC and the number 8.org. Or click on the link in the description of this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the King Chasing Podcast. Again, past episodes are available at the NCCAA.org/podcast on Apple, Spotify, and at the NCCAA YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time on the King Chasing Podcast.